Slurply derp my G's. I hope you're doing wonderful. You have all left some amazing comments and questions on the last video I did about start loud and finish loud. And you've actually inspired around 3 different videos. And I want to separate them all to talk about the specific concepts one at a time because it's a bit more digestible. That being said, if you're really in doubt about how to achieve the best mix down, I do highly suggest you book a one-on-one lesson because there's only so much I can talk about on one video without you having follow-up questions. And then some people will get it, some people won't, and everyone has like a different way of understanding and different like gaps in their knowledge to fill out. So that's why I can't advocate one-on-one lessons enough, because it's just a really like the best way to level up. So super appreciate anyone who wants to book a lesson with me. That being said, let's continue with this video, and I want to talk about the concept of clipping in general, and why I love to use a clipper, and why I don't ever use any limiters ever, and I don't put anything on my master other than a clipper to keep it clean. So there's different clippers you can use, and they're pretty much, in my opinion, all the same. There might be a tiny bit of difference in the sound quality, but really, I don't notice it. I mean, I use the Camel Crusher, but in Logic you can also use the Fat Effects, and for that one, you just want to turn everything off except for the hard clipping. Leave the hard clipping on, not soft limiting, but hard clipping, and turn the mix and the output up, and then you can use that one. Or if you don't have Logic, you can just download. I've just downloaded this as an example for you. A free clip, which is absolutely fine, and that's free to download by Ven Audio. And so just to like really zoom out and think, okay, why am I actually using a clipper? It's really simple. Okay, this is the most fundamental basic reason of why I use a clipper before we get into the specifics. And if I've got this track and it's pumping right into the red, okay? It's pumping at like 4.3 dB. But it sounds good. It's not like distorting. You know, we're redlining the track, but the track still sounds fine, you know? And what the clipper will do is it'll ping it on, and the track will sound exactly the same pretty much. In some cases it won't, but usually it will sound the same, but now it's at 0. And you can use the free clip, for example. They all have the same. I can't tell the difference. So it doesn't really matter which one you use. It's just gonna clip it to 0, right? And so, what is the reason why to use the clipper? Why don't I just leave it like this? Well, the fact is that if I left it like that at +4 or +5 dB or even higher, whatever it is, and then I bounced it out, I was finished with the song. I rendered it out as a finished file. You know, when you bounce it out, 0 is the limit anyway. Yeah. So when the song gets bounced out, it's going to clip it to 0. Okay. And then because you can't ever go above 0 in real life. Okay. So when you export your project and it does that for you, there's a big chance that it won't then end up sounding the same as what you're listening to now while you're producing. So the actual reason why I use a clipper, and this is the only like real fundamental reason to use it, is so that, drum roll, when I'm producing with the clipper on, I know that that's the exact sound I'm going to get when I bounce it out. Okay? Because I'm redlining everything, because everything is technically going way into the red. And if I was to export it like that, I'm a little bit in the dark about how that's going to sound, what's going to happen. By having the clipper on, I know that what I hear is what I'm going to get when I export it. So that is the fundamental and basic reason of why I actually use a clipper. Now let's dive into the little bit more specific details of why I keep the master clean and why I use a clipper instead of using like a limiter. Well, there's actually only really one main reason again, and that is because of the fact that a limiter like FabFilter Pro L2 or something like that changes the dynamics much more. It squashes the dynamics to give you a louder sound, whereas a clipper, all it does is it chops off like the loudest transients of the file, but it retains the whole body and dynamics of the track that you've got. So for me, using a clipper in your mix while you're producing is like riding a bike without stabilizers. You know, if you're using like enhancing plugins or limiters on your master, it's like you're sort of riding a bike with stabilizers with your training wheels still on, because the clipper gives you, when you have the clipper, you have a true representation of what the song's actual dynamics are, and the limiter will change the song's dynamics to hopefully give you this pleasing feeling of more volume and energy, but it will oftentimes mask a lot of problems that are in your mix. And if you just stick to using a clipper, I know it's not fancy, I know it's not sexy, but what it will let you do is it will let you have a truer representation of your sound, and you will have actually a louder and a more dynamic mix. Can you believe it? Because if you get the dynamics in your mix right, then you can push the volume super, super high by just turning up the volume of everything before the clipper. You know, some clippers let you gain on the input, so you want to always gain on the input, then clip, but have the output at 0. But often they don't have that, so you can just put a utility gain before the clipper and then boost the master there. Okay, and what that will do is it will ensure that the dynamics that you've created in your song are unchanged, so you're responsible for all of the dynamics you set up. And then you push the volume, so you've got high level of dynamics that are that's not being squashed by anything, not being squashed by any enhancement plugins, not being squashed by any limiter. You've got the full range of dynamics of your song, and you're able to make it loud. So that is the reason why the clipper is the best, in my opinion. I know there's 95% of YouTubers probably use FabFilter Pro L or use some kind of limiter. Like I mentioned before, I never use any limiters in any part of my production process. I just focus on setting the volumes right in the different channels, the different groups, setting up the dynamics properly, and then clipping things and using the hard clipper to chop the top of the waveform off, you know. There's a little thing that happens where you use the clipper where you can get some harmonic distortion, and this is really something I don't really ever notice, and it's something that actually kind of sounds good. If it was to be a good or a bad distortion, it would be a good distortion. So you can occasionally color the whole sound a little bit. The clipper will naturally sort of color things and distort things a tiny bit, a very subtle way, but it's usually in a very natural and fitting kind of way. So don't worry about that. You shall hear when you boost things too much into the clipper, you'll hear that it's over distorted, or if you get the balance just right, there might be a slight bit of coloring distortion that kind of sounds good, but you'll hear when you've got the right balance, and then you will have retained the dynamics of your track and achieved a loud volume. So that is why I always push for using a clipper over anything else. And also, again, like keeping my master channel clean is I know it's fun to use like enhancement plugins and stuff. And perhaps during the mastering process, you can toy around with stuff like that. But definitely while I'm producing, the goal for me is to set up my mix in the most dynamic and loudest way and really create space between all of the elements, and then just boost things into the clipper and listen carefully that I'm not over distorting and I've got the perfect balance of loudness, clarity, and retaining all the dynamics. So hopefully that cleared some things up for you guys. Again, feel free to leave a bunch of comments and questions down below. I've still got about 2 other topics to cover from the most recent video where you guys have asked questions. And again, disclaimer, this is my theory, my take on music production. It's not for everyone, but it's what has helped me in the many years that I've done it, and it's the tech. I'm showing you directly the techniques that I believe work best to give me the loudest and clearest sound that I can achieve. Thank you very much, my G's. Have a great day. I'll see you guys very, very soon. Much love.